Imagine you are just, scrolling online and suddenly you are verbally attacked by a troll.
Ugh, the worst.
Right. But then the platform steps in, they ban the user, remove the comment, and you feel safe. It feels like they are looking out for you, right?
Yep, that's the standard assumption. I mean, that they care about your user experience.
Well, what if I told you they didn't do that to protect you at all? According to the data in our sources today, they did it because their algorithms calculated that if they removed that specific troll, you would stick around exactly 13 minutes longer this week.
Oh, wow. 13 minutes.
Exactly, just long enough for you to scroll past like a dozen more advertisements. So today we are doing a deep dive into the hidden forces that actually shape our digital public square.
And we really have a fascinating stack of sources for you today. We've got an economic analysis of content moderation, a technical deep dive into Web3 platforms, specifically Farcaster.
Yeah, that one is wild. We also have an academic study on decentralized governance, plus some really sharp journalism on the whole migration to platforms like Bluesky and Mastodon.
Our mission for you on this deep dive is basically to figure out what happens when we try to rebuild social media from the ground up. Because it is a critical moment right now.
It really is. I mean, we're watching this massive real-time experiment as millions of people just attempt to abandon the corporate models we all kind of grew up with.
Right. But as these alternatives emerge, they are wrestling with some, honestly, incredible paradoxes of their own. What's fascinating here is that to truly understand where we are going, we have to look under the hood.
Yeah.
Today, we want to strip away all the technical jargon for you and show you exactly how architecture, economics, and human behavior just, totally collide.
I always think about it like this. It's like we're all collectively moving out of this giant corporate-owned apartment building where the landlord reads our mail.
That is a very creepy but very accurate way to put it.
Right. And now we're all just standing in the street trying to decide whether to join a messy co-op or maybe go build a hyper-futuristic libertarian utopia in the woods.
I love that analogy.
But let's start by looking back at that corporate apartment building, the traditional centralized social media square. Because before we can understand why people are packing up their digital boxes, we really have to understand the cold, hard economics of how legacy platforms operate.
Yes. And reading through these sources, the mechanics of it are entirely different than the public narrative we usually hear.
Exactly. The narrative is always that big platforms moderate content to protect brand safety or, to avoid regulators.
Right. But the economic analysis in our sources points to a very different primary motive.
Great.
These are profit-maximizing firms. Their moderation policies are strictly calibrated for user engagement.
I mean, the regulatory threat is almost a myth, isn't it? Like, I was looking at the data on Germany's strict anti-hate speech law, the NetzDG. They fined Facebook 2 million euros.
Which sounds like a lot to a normal person.
Yeah, but for a company of that size, pulling in billions a quarter, a 2 million euro fine is literally just a rounding error. It doesn't even dent the balance sheet.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
They clearly aren't moderating because they're terrified of governments. They are moderating to manage their inventory.
Their inventory. I think that's such a key concept for you listening to grasp.
Yeah, in social media, the inventory is your screen time. The researchers conducted this study where they analyzed 6,000 hateful tweets to see how moderation impacted user behavior.
And the results were kind of shocking.
They really were. They found that when hateful replies were reported and actually moderated, meaning the offending content was removed, the users who were originally attacked increased their time on the platform by 13 minutes per week.
Which comes out to a 13% increase in their baseline engagement.
Exactly, because the environment feels safer to them, so they just don't log off.
And sticking around for an extra 13 minutes means the platform gets to serve them more ads.
Precisely. We often talk about social media as being free, but that is a fundamental illusion. The actual price you pay is your attention.
Yeah.
And platforms extract that price through what economists call ad loads.
Right. An ad load is simply the frequency and density of advertisements mixed into your feed.
Right. So a platform optimizes its moderation policy to ensure that the people most likely to engage with those ads don't just log off in disgust.
So moderation isn't like a human resources department trying to keep the peace. It is literally an inventory management system ensuring the ad load equation stays perfectly balanced.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because there was a survey of 3,000 Twitter users in the research that really threw me.
Oh, the valuation survey.
Yeah, it showed that regardless of whether a user expected a high level of moderation moderation or a very low level of moderation, they valued their platform experience at about $33 a week.
It's a fascinating data point.
Wait, if the survey shows users value the platform at $33 a week, no matter the moderation level, does that mean we don't actually care about toxicity as much as we claim? Or are platforms just manipulating our ad load price to keep us hooked regardless of the environment?
It is highly likely the latter. Users are essentially just variables in a highly sophisticated ad load optimization algorithm.
Wow, just variables.
Yeah, the platforms are constantly turning the dials behind the scenes. They might apply a little more moderation here or a slightly higher ad load there, precisely to maximize revenue without pushing you to the breaking point.
The breaking point where you actually close the app.
Right. You don't perceive the value changing because the algorithm is keeping you perfectly in the sweet spot of tolerance.
And this realization that you are not a citizen of a digital town square, but literally just a commodified variable in an advertising equation, is the core push factor driving the current exodus.
Absolutely. If users are realizing they are just variables, it makes total sense why we are seeing this massive spike in registrations on alternative networks.
People are packing their bags. Our sources track this major shift toward federated networks, specifically looking at Bluesky and Mastodon. And the scale of this migration is vastly different depending on where you look.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty stark.
Bluesky recently surged to 38 million users. They've captured that true mainstream scale. But Mastodon is sitting at, I think, under 690,000 active users.
Though it's really important to look at the pattern of Mastodon's growth rather than just the absolute number.
Right. The literature describes it as scalloped growth.
Exactly. It doesn't look like a straight line pointing up. Instead, it experiences these sudden massive surges during moments of intense controversy on corporate platforms.
So people get mad and jump ship.
Right. That surge is followed by a predictable ebbing of users who try it and leave. But the platform always maintains a steadily higher baseline than before the surge.
The sources map this out using push, pull, and mooring factors. And just to be clear to you listening, we're simply reporting what the social scientists have documented as the triggers here.
Yeah, we aren't taking any political sides on this.
Right. Users are being pushed out by controversial top-down decisions like shifts in how marginalized users are handled or, the allowance of coordinated trolling from government regimes.
But they are moored, or held back, by network effects. It's incredibly hard to leave a platform when your friends, your favorite creators, and your entire professional network are still there.
The network effect is such a powerful anchor, and when users finally do break that anchor and migrate, they often encounter what researchers call a culture clash.
Oh, the culture clash is real. When a massive wave of users migrated to Mastodon in 2022, for example, they were frequently met with unwelcoming gatekeeping from the platform's veterans.
It's like showing up to a tight-knit neighborhood gathering where everyone knows each other, but you brought 50 loud friends and you don't know any of the unwritten rules.
That's exactly it. The Mastodon veterans didn't want their quiet, highly curated space turned into the very platform the newcomers were fleeing from.
Yeah, they liked it being a bit difficult to use because it kept the noise down.
Which is really a feature, not a bug, of how Federation works. Federation gives communities complete local autonomy.
Because anyone can spin up their own server with its own strict rules.
Exactly. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it creates what the academics in our sources call a governance archipelago.
A governance archipelago. I love that term. What does that actually look like in practice for the user?
Well, think of it as a series of fragmented islands. Each island has its own mayor and its own laws, but there is no overarching cross-instance accountability.
So if a bad actor is banned from one island for harassment, they can just row their digital boat over to the next island, spin up a new account, and start shouting across the water.
Right. The communities are independent, which is great for autonomy, but it makes unified governance virtually impossible.
But the technology is evolving to build bridges between these islands. The sources mention users adopting tools like Bounce.
Yes, Bounce is fascinating.
And this is where it starts making sense mechanically. It's kind of like email, right? You can have a Gmail account, and I can have an Outlook account. We have different providers, but we can still message each other perfectly.
Exactly. Bounce acts like that underlying protocol, seamlessly connecting follower graphs between Mastodon and Bluesky.
You can basically live on one island, but still interact smoothly with your friends on the other.
It is an incredibly elegant technical solution to that mooring factor we discussed. By bridging the islands, you lower the cost of migrating because you don't lose your network.
However, structurally, it still relies entirely on human administrators running those individual servers. You are still trusting a human being not to just unplug the server or arbitrarily change the local rules.
Right.
So, if federated servers still rely on fallible human admins, and they naturally create these fragmented archipelagos, what happens if we remove the human admins entirely?
That's the big question.
What if we hardcode the rules of the platform directly into a blockchain so nobody can tamper with them?
That brings us out of the messy co-op and straight into the Web3 extreme.
Welcome to Farcaster. It is the ultimate decentralized experiment in social media.
It really is wild.
And from a purely technical standpoint, as outlined in the engineering breakdowns in our sources, it is an astonishing triumph of software architecture.
Yeah, they have managed to separate the user's underlying identity from the interface you actually look at.
Exactly.
The technical specs are genuinely impressive. They launched this infrastructure upgrade called SnapChain. Now, normally when we think of blockchains, we think of slow, clunky systems where you wait 10 minutes for a Bitcoin transaction to clear.
Yeah, which is terrible for social media.
Right. But SnapChain processes 10,000 transactions per second with sub-second finality.
Let's explain what that finality actually feels like for the user. On early decentralized apps, if you clicked like on a post, you might have to wait 30 seconds for the blockchain to verify and confirm that action, which completely breaks the user experience.
Totally. Sub-second finality means that when you hit like, the transaction is permanently written to the decentralized ledger in under a second. It feels exactly as fast and responsive as Instagram or X.
But no single corporation owns the database.
Right.
And then they introduced Frames v2. This is where the architecture really flexes its muscles. Right there in your social feed, you can play full-screen games, mint digital assets, or deploy tokens.
It's seamless. You don't click a link and go to a separate website. The entire application runs natively inside the feed.
They have even integrated AI into this architecture. There is an AI-powered bot on Farcaster called Clanker.
Oh, this part of the research blew my mind.
Sam, users can simply tag this bot in a post with an idea, and the bot instantly deploys a fully tradable cryptocurrency token on the blockchain.
It's so fast.
In one fascinating instance documented in the sources, an autonomous AI agent called Aether used this bot to create a token called LUM. That token hit an $80 million market cap within a week.
An AI created an $80 million economy entirely within a social media feed. The technological capability is staggering.
But, and this is a massive but, Farcaster is facing an existential paradox.
Yeah, the adoption crisis.
They have raised $180 million from venture capital. They have a $1 billion valuation. But when you look at the actual human adoption, it is a ghost town compared to Bluesky.
The numbers are actually really concerning. They claimed 40 to 60,000 daily active users, but the hard data on their verified Power Badge holders shows only about 4,360 genuine, highly active human users.
And the financial reality is just as stark. By October 2025, their monthly protocol revenue had collapsed to roughly $10,000.
$10,000. For a company valued at $1 billion, generating $10,000 a month is not just a rounding error, it is a five-alarm fire.
It is staggering to me that they have $1 billion valuation but are only bringing in $10,000 a month. How is that sustainable?
Well, to try and fix this, they pivoted to a subscription model called Farcaster Pro.
Right. It costs $120 a year, and it gives you longer posts and custom banners. But the interesting part is that 100% of that subscription revenue goes directly into creator pools to pay the users, not the company.
Which brings us to the core friction. Farcaster has built a digital utopia, but it is designed for a very specific, highly technical type of citizen.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because, I mean, if you could play a game, buy a digital asset, and financially support your favorite creator without ever leaving your social feed, wouldn't you want that?
Absolutely.
I mean, who wouldn't? So is this $7 annual storage fee the actual barrier keeping people away?
They charge that fee to prevent the network from getting bloated with spam, which makes sense technically.
Sure. Or is it that needing to understand what a crypto wallet is, memorizing seed phrases, and paying a fee just to post a status update is simply too much friction for the average person who just wants to share a picture of their dog?
The friction of the crypto wallet is certainly a massive barrier to onboarding, but it is only a symptom of a much deeper socio-technical issue.
Oh, interesting.
The lack of mainstream adoption isn't just about the interface. It is deeply fundamentally tied to how these Web3 platforms are governed and who actually ends up holding the power within them.
Right, because the promise of Web3 was that it was going to turn us from commodities, remember the ad load algorithm we talked about at the beginning, into actual stakeholders.
Yes. The academic study we have from Frontiers dives deep into this. They rely on decentralized identity, smart contracts, and token economies to theoretically hand the power back to the people.
So how does that actually work in practice?
The primary mechanism for this is the DAO, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. The theory behind a DAO is mathematically beautiful. Instead of a CEO making decisions in a closed boardroom, any proposed change to the platform is put to a vote.
Okay.
The community votes on the protocol's rules using their digital tokens. If you hold a token, you have a voice.
Wait, you're telling me Farcaster expects casual users who just want to post a meme to read a highly technical proposal and vote on the parameters of a protocol?
Yep.
That sounds exhausting.
And the data proves that it is.
Mm-hmm.
The researchers highlight a phenomenon called governance fatigue. It turns out, reading the equivalent of a legal terms of service agreement every time the platform needs an update is not something normal humans want to do.
I mean, I certainly don't want to do that.
The data shows that often, only about 3% of users actually participate in these decentralized votes.
So nobody votes. But what happens to the power?
Well, because votes are inextricably tied to the tokens you hold, meaning one token equals one vote. If only a few people vote, and those people happen to hold the most tokens, you have inadvertently engineered a plutocracy.
A system of rule by the wealthy.
Exactly. The sources are very clear on this mechanism. Power does not disappear in these decentralized systems just because you remove the CEO. It simply shifts from corporate executives to anonymous crypto whales who bought up the most tokens early on.
So we traded a known corporate entity for a group of anonymous whales who happen to own the most digital tokens.
Basically, yes.
It's like replacing a corporate monarchy with an oligarchy where the billionaires hold all the voting cards and we don't even know their names.
This raises a really important question about the nature of the infrastructure itself and whether true decentralization is even possible at scale.
Because we are already seeing centralization creaking back into Farcaster in highly practical ways.
Oh, definitely. For instance, to make the network run fast, it relies on hubs, which are the actual physical servers storing the data. But the core Farcaster team runs the vast majority of these hubs.
Right. Because server storage is expensive and there is no economic incentive built into the protocol for independent operators to spend their own money running them.
Exactly.
And then there's the controversy over the power badge. Farcaster created this badge to highlight quality, highly active users. But there are widespread accusations in the community of centralized shadow banning.
Yeah, that's a huge issue right now.
If the core team doesn't like what you're saying, or if you don't fit their specific cultural mold, you allegedly lose your badge, which essentially hides your content from the network. It's the exact same centralized moderation they claim to be replacing.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the academic consensus in our sources is that code is never truly neutral.
Yeah.
When you rely on smart contracts for algorithmic governance, you strip away the vital nuance of human context.
Because a rigidly coded smart contract might be highly efficient at automatically stopping a spam bot, right?
Right, but it is utterly incapable of navigating complex social nuances, sarcasm, or evolving cultural norms. You end up with a system that might be mathematically fair on paper, but is socially broken in practice.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Let's trace the journey we've just taken through these sources. We started in that corporate apartment building where we unpacked the mechanics of how your attention is literally priced and traded via ad loads.
You aren't a citizen. You are the inventory.
We then followed the messy, fascinating migration out to federated networks like Bluesky and Mastodon. We looked at how communities are navigating culture clashes and building technological bridges like Bounce to connect these fragmented governance archipelagos.
And from there, we examined the technological marvel of Farcaster. We saw how it completely re-architected the infrastructure of social media to achieve sub-second finality on a blockchain.
But that led us to uncover the protocol paradox, that decentralized platforms can be incredibly innovative, yet still struggle with massive adoption barriers, user fatigue, and the accidental creation of digital plutocracies ruled by token whales.
It is a massive amount to take in. We are literally watching the architecture of human communication be rewritten, debated, and stress-tested in real time.
It really is.
Which leaves us with one final and perhaps the most provocative thought to consider. Our sources highlighted the intersection of AI and Web3 governance.
Okay.
We know that humans are already suffering from massive governance fatigue in DAOs. 3% voter turnout is a clear indicator of that.
Yeah, nobody wants to read those proposals.
Right. And we also know from the Clanker and Aether examples that AI agents are already successfully operating within these networks, creating and managing multi-million-dollar token economies autonomously.
Oh, wow. I see exactly where you're going with this.
If humans are too exhausted to read the technical proposals and vote on every single platform rule, how long until we simply start delegating our governance tokens to our personal AI agents?
Oh, man, we will literally just tell the bot, vote in my best interest, and step away.
Exactly. And when that inevitable shift happens, will the future digital public square be a network designed for human connection, or will it be an environment entirely governed by bots, ruthlessly optimizing for their own token economies?
You start out wanting to escape the corporate landlord reading your mail, and you might just end up handing the keys to an AI bot optimizing your digital co-op. I want to highly encourage you to ponder that thought today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden forces shaping our digital world. We will catch you next time.